Good morning, y'all. What's up? Yancey here, coming to you live from my desktop early on a Wednesday morning, 6:53 a.m. What is up? I wanted to come in and talk to you today about a new piece posting and just want to walk through some of the pieces in it and talk about why I think Scenius is the gateway to a new creative era for creative people. So, scenius is a term that Brian Eno, the musician and artist, coined back in the 70s to describe the way creative work is naturally collaborative. And we talked to Brian about this a year ago. I'm going to show a video of him discussing the idea.
I studied art and thought that we were obsessed with this sort of individualistic idea of genius. Picasso's a genius, as if it was all in his head. But when you look closely at the history of any one of those people, you find that they were part of a whole scene. They weren't just kind of individual working completely on their own. There were lots of people all watching each other. So I then came up with the word Scenius, which is the sort of intelligence of a whole community. I really think that's a much better way of looking at things. It reduces the distance between the artist and the ordinary person, so-called. And you realize that there are a lot of ordinary people involved in that artist, and that the artist isn't that special. It's not a completely distinct being. But culture has been notably bad at understanding that, and that's partly because of the economics of the art world. It's much easier to pretend that it's all located in Picasso or in Kandinsky or in Pollock or whatever.
I can see my pointing right. That way is the point. All right, now we got it. So, put another way, thank you, Brian. Put another way, Scenius is a way of seeing and recognizing that our work doesn't come from a vacuum, that we're a part of something bigger. Now, I'm someone who has really discovered this personally, where the whole journey that led to MetaLabel really began with me being as a solo creator and being dissatisfied with my experience. I ended up writing a piece called The Dark Forest Anthology, sorry, The Dark Forest Theory of the Internet. It's talking about why I felt so alone. And that turned into a book and a project that is very much a project of Scenius, where I created the Dark Forest Collective with other writers. And I found other people who had all written about the same topic. And together we turned our ideas into a book that's now sold a couple thousand copies. But these connections that I had with these people were always there. We were reading each other, but they weren't acknowledged till we took this step. And so in a time of hyper individualism, Scenius and embracing these connections between us is a daring act, maybe even a political one. Because as individuals, we are free to just doom scroll and make purchases, and everything around us is set up for that eventuality. But in groups, we're less predictable. We're conspiring with other peoples, we're making ideas that we didn't expect, and we're squaring this circle between who we are as individuals and really truly being ourselves, while giving ourselves up to something even larger than us. And that's this trick that's so important. It's something the documentarian Adam Curtis talked to me about a few years ago for a piece on the creative independent. This importance of squaring individualism and being a part of something bigger than you. And that's exactly what I think Scenius and the whole Meta Label project is ultimately about. And so Scenius is inspiring as an idea, but even more than that, I think it's a gateway to three things that creative people urgently need. Number one is shared income. When we can acknowledge the fact that our work is not made in a vacuum, and when we can bring other people into our practices, we get to make money together. We get to put out things where we are not the sole person responsible for everything, and where we get to split the income between us. And if I look at these projects from the Dark Forest Collective, that's what we're doing. We've made these books where we've sold thousands of copies, and each author has received thousands of dollars in royalties paid out to them automatically, and no one really having to work that hard on their own, aside from maybe me and the designer organizing the project. But it's a way that we can all contribute to something that we really gain from materially, financially, but it's just not a singular burden. All right, number two is that Scenius opens up shared legitimacy. One of the hardest things to come by, especially in such a noisy time, is legitimacy, being seen properly, being honored for who you are. And really, one of the only tools that we have available to us is to honor and legitimize each other. That's what's always happened in underground scenes. punk rock, more difficult parts of the world, in creative universes where there aren't those institutions that are going to bless people. There aren't media outlets paying attention. We're really past that era now. And so we should embrace the idea of legitimizing each other and ourselves. And Scenius is a way to get there. To say, hey, we're all a part of something, and we actually benefit from all being a part of something. And finally, it builds lasting ownership. Scenius creates the opportunity for lasting ownership and therefore autonomy. Now, at MetaLabel, we think that this is just the beginning for creativity. This isn't the end, this is the beginning. And that we're heading towards a creative century where the way we solve problems, the way we think about what's important is really oriented with creativity, self expression, creative culture at its core. And that is a world where creative people can thrive and creative people can turn what is now social power or creative power into economic power and even into legal legal structures, political power, whole new worlds that are available for us. There's a talk that I gave at Creative Mornings about a month ago on a new era of creativity that walks through this idea and talks in depth about where it is that we're going. I'll play just a little clip.
By the end of this century, creative people are going to be the wealthiest and most powerful group of all, right there at the top. This is going to happen for a bunch of different reasons. One is that AI is going to commoditize most things. Most things. What will be distinct are voices, opinions, personalities, and who has that but creative people?
Now, that goes on to talk about a specific structure that creative people will be able to form soon. We'll have a video about this in just a couple of weeks. But this path through Scenius is the gateway. So, if you want to increase Scenius in your work, what should you do? Well, I think there are three steps that anyone can take. Number one is that you can reconnect your work to other people. So when I looked at that Dark Forest piece, I originally wrote that on my own. Other people wrote things after it. And I ended up reaching out to other people who had touched on similar themes or ideas and just said hi to them and talked about, hey, I think our pieces are in kind of dialogue with each other. And that was enough to generate actually a whole new work. But just acknowledging what's already there and present in our existing catalog of work is a first step and a very easy one that I think you're going to find lots of nice things on the other side of. Number two, making things with others. It doesn't have to be straight collaboration. You don't have to give up your individual voice. I know how much as creative people we don't like that. I don't like that. But we can co release, we can co promote, we can conspire. But just allow yourself to think that there is something to be gained on the other side of opening myself up to another person in a different way than I have before. And finally, you should start a meta label page. This whole platform, this whole product is built around the idea that each of us have our own practices, but yet we're connected to many other people, and that there's lots of different things to release and ways that we all benefit each other. So while I'm a part of the Dark Forest Collective and put out work there, I also have my own personal page, the Idea Space, where I release and document things I've made. And I'm a part of many other groups too that I help and support or just make small contributions to. But just being a part of something bigger than just yourself is such an unlock. And it really gives you a gift as a creative person because so much of our practices are held alone, and a lot of the work has to be alone. So any chance we get to be connected with others and to feel that joy of collaboration and making something that you didn't know that you were capable of, I mean, there's not much better than that. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by my desktop this morning. We'll do this again soon. And yeah, look into your Scenius. See what's there for you. Peace. Peace. I'll get better at this.